Yes, we do talk about a Wood Mountain dig next. We have the mayor of Wood Mountain with us this morning, Michael Klein. Michael, welcome back to Saskatchewan. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And for all those tourists that are going to be moving in just a few months from now, locate Wood Mountain for us.
Okay, we're just off the American border, straight south of Moose Jaw, about 100 miles. We're sitting on the eastern edge to what will become the new Grasslands Park. As a matter of fact, one of the agreements we have with our regional park is with Grasslands to give out information on the Grasslands Park.
Good. Okay, you came to us this morning. I know you've been here before about the archaeological dig. When did this start?
Okay, we actually the process for the dig began. It would be, I guess, November of 1990, when we met with Parks and Renewable Resources about restoring the old post. Now, the old post is an RCMP post which operated from 1874 till 1918.
What was it called?
It was called Old Post, as far as I know.
Old Post?
Yeah.
Fort Old Post or Old Post? Yeah. No, they sometimes had names, Fort Walsh and things like that. You know? It was called the Old Post. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess our claim to fame is the fact that the RCMP detachment at Wood Mountain supervised Sitting Bull after the massacre of Little Bighorn.
Right.
And it's a place where the RCMP were very successful. You have to consider there were 4,000 to 8,000 Sioux that came across the border after having beat up a portion of the U.S. cavalry. 5 RCMP officers meet them and say, you can stay as long as you behave. But you have to understand there were only 5 RCMP officers.
Yes,
there was no army. There was nothing else.
That's well documented, you know, and I've heard that they even said you can even destroy us and the Great White Mother will send 5 more and 5 more. You know, had a tremendous effect on them.
And it did. It was very successful. They got along. You know, you have to understand, Old Post is not called a fort because it wasn't a fort. There's some of the buildings listed in one of our photographs here kind of show you the original layout right there.
Okay, I'll ask you to hold them up then, if you will. Just bend it forward a wee bit so it doesn't mirror. And now, when would these be taken?
I think this was around 1918.
About 1918?
Yeah, that was like when the post closed. That's what it looked like. And so there's no fort. It's all sitting out in the open in the middle of the prairies. And the arrangement that the RCMP had, or the working relationship, was obviously very, very good with the Sioux.
Was there anything left there when the dig started? Were there any buildings at all? Or?
Actually, I'll show you what it looks like now, today. And that's when the dig started. We have 2 buildings.
Would they be originals?
No, they were restorations.
Okay. And
one of the things that comes out of the dig, which is very interesting, as we go through the book, we dug for approximately a week, at beginning of September. Over the long, you know, the Labor Day weekend, about 4,000 artifacts, just under 4,000 artifacts came out. Now, a lot of these are what they call clinkers, or come out of the stove and so on.
Sure.
There's a lot of nails. But one of the things that really struck me, we dug 3 trenches across one of the buildings, not a current building, but a building that had been there. And taking nails out of there. There were some 1,500 nails that came out of these 3 trenches. But the 2 types of nails. One nail is a stamped nail. It was machined nail, so it's got square edges. And the other type of nail is a wire nail, somewhat like we see today. And the archaeologists, in terms of their study, they discovered that the machined nails were in common use in the mid-1800s and were phased out by the early 1900s. And the wire nail came into use in the 1900s and later on. So when we identify where these nails were found, we know, for example, that the building was added onto. The original building had the machined nails, and it was the original because
they built an extension.
Yeah, and so they built an extension onto it. Another thing that I found really interesting is that all of this has got piles of dirt, so we assume the buildings were adobe, you know, mudded.
Right.
And inside of this dirt is a pink substance, so like a calamine or a calcimine or something. So the archaeologists investigated that they could buy a pink, I guess you'd call it a pink whitewash, as a powder in the late 1800s. And that would have been easier to bring than paint, so that we know that these buildings were all pink on the inside.
Amazing. Well, you know, you have some artifacts a glass frontal on them here.
Yeah, these were some of the artifacts that we did find.
Just hold that up steady for quite a while and we'll just take a look at it. Now, how far underground were they?
Okay, we dug, the vast majority of digs would have been, I think, about 6 centimeters down. In one place, we probably went down about 20 centimeters because they wanted to find how far the hole under the building was.
A suspender toggle.
Yeah.
A safety pin. That hasn't changed a great deal.
Not really.
Uniform badge. Of course, it was the Northwest Mounted Police, as we know.
That's right, yeah, you can see their insignia. I'm amazed at the number of buttons that were found. You know, buttons, sometimes the buttons were broke. In one of them, there's even a car ring. You know, so we know that that obviously came after the RCMP left.
That's good. A mower blade. It looks smaller. What kind of a mower
Well,
blade?
I suspect the mower blade, because the park has been maintained and mowed, this is probably, I guess you'd say, a recent artifact in that it's the result of the maintenance of the park. Shells. There were quite a few shells found. Bullets, that is.
And a shoe hook of the old button-type boots.
Yeah.
That they would pull it, yeah.
And a leather heel.
Is that only a small portion of what you found?
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, we found, I think the actual number is something like 3,800 pieces of artifact. That's small pieces of glass. So you have medicine glasses. In the report that we have, it indicates, it breaks them down into categories, eh?
Who does it belong to when you excavate something like that and you find something? Who is the owner when it's...
It's going to belong to us. It'll belong to the park. Yeah. As all of the artifacts are put together, they'll be returned to us. And so as we restore, hopefully we can build display areas for that.
Is the dig finished? Do you have any more?
Well, actually, we've applied again through Access to Archaeology for another one this summer. And I must say that last summer we received the largest grant in Saskatchewan, and I think maybe in Western Canada. And when I met with the Access to Archaeology people, they were really excited about what happened because we have various levels of government. Our tourism committee organized this, and that includes the RM as well as the village. And we have Parks and Renewable Resources from Saskatchewan who operate the park. And then, of course, the federal money came in. We have also applied to become designated as a National Historic Site, which I think will take place this summer. And I guess all our efforts paid off because last year we were the only national, or the only historic park in the province to see an increase in tourism.
Okay.
It wasn't a dramatic increase. We're hoping this year it will be a dramatic
Looking forward to the spring and summer, Michael, what about the park? When is it going to be open, and where can people see a lot of that?
Okay, the park opens the long weekend in May. We have a regional park sitting right beside the provincial park. I guess you'd call it. It's a DNR park, as was always referred to, the historic park. And a lot of these things will be there this summer. We also have talked to the RCMP about possibly having some, their museum displays that need controlled environments, so they can't come down, but we might be able to have something there as well from them. And we're looking at putting together possibly a drama production as well, which will kind of portray the era. And we're going to try and run that all summer. And with any luck, we'll have another archaeology project occurring at the end of July. Of course, I have brought my hat here. We have the longest continuous running rodeo in the province, so that all takes place in July.
Come back and see us just before May, and we'll do a good rundown. The grass will be green at that time, and maybe need some volunteer diggers, do you?
Yeah, well, that's what this whole program was about, and what will happen for the next one, we need to wait and see.
Good. We'll review a new book called Foghorn Passage next on Eye in Saskatchewan.
If the thing will...
Is joining me now, and Mike is the mayor of Wood Mountain and is here to tell us about the Wood Mountain Archeological Project. Welcome, Mike. Welcome back. Actually, we talked to you last summer.
Yep, thank you.
Where do you stand now compared to last summer? Is anything, can you maybe give us an update as to what's happened since then?
Well, last summer, our project was the largest archaeological project in terms of a grant in Saskatchewan and I believe in Western Canada. And it was been looked on very favorably. We dug for a week. We had about 160 volunteers come and join us, and we had 7 school tours. And the project went very well. In a week, we dug out nearly 4,000 artifacts.
It's amazing. Tell us very quickly, and actually we have some pictures that we're going to run through as well, and I believe they show the site before this, the start of the dig and after.
Yeah, the picture that you see there now is what the post looked like when it closed approximately 1918.
Okay.
And again, that's what the post was like. It operated from 1874 until 1918. And the RCMP from this post had the responsibility in 1876 of supervising Sitting Bull, and there were between 4,000 and 8,000 Sioux that came up.
To this particular
to
post?
this location.
To
yeah.
that location, okay.
And they stayed for 4 years. And then the post operated basically border patrol from about Alberta to the southern Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
And there would have been 20 to 25 officers stationed there that period of time. Well, of course, most of the time they spent on the road, or on the horse, I should say.
Right. Not in cars.
Not in cars.
What do we see here?
Okay, this is one of the trenches that was dug. And the trenches were basically dug across one of the buildings. The building was a longer, narrow building. Mm-hmm. And the arrow was to point, I believe, north. Each trench was 1 meter wide, and then it would be meter by meter and divided into quadrants. Uh-huh. In this case, it was one of the areas where they went deeper. What you can see there is a piece of the foundation of the building, and back inside, probably some of the basement. Again, I guess this one here was looking for how far the hole went underneath the building.
Ah.
Again, I think it's just, this one here I think was looking for one of the foundations. They tried to expose the foundation on either side. The post you see standing there was put there by Parks and Renewable Resources to approximately outline where the buildings were. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how many times they went straight through the foundation.
Oh, really?
So they were pretty accurate.
Awesome.
This is what the post looks like now. We have
obviously,
2 buildings restored.
Original.
No.
Those aren't original
They are
buildings.
not original,
okay.
no. And all there are 2 buildings. The building that you can see, the main building there is basically the museum, and it contains a lot of the Sitting Bull history. And the other one contains some of the RCMP artifacts. This picture is kind of interesting because the archaeology is high-tech. Mm-hmm. And what he's doing, he's actually taking magnetometric measures through the whole site, and they're all marked off. Mm-hmm. And he's measuring the Earth's magnetic field.
Now, you're talking about this, it sounds very professionally done, but is it not all volunteers that are doing this?
Okay, the volunteers did the digging, but we had a group of professional archaeologists that supervised and organized it all and set it all up. And basically the money for the project went to them. So it was because of their expertise the project took place.
How long is this going to be going on?
Well, we would like to see it become an annual event. And our problem is to come up with enough money to do it. This project lasted about 14 days and cost $31,000.
So are you doing continuous fundraising? Or
So, yeah, that's what we're working at. We're working at promoting the whole area of tourism, and if we can use it as part of a tourist promotion, we think maybe we can help fund it. The reason for the hat is because we celebrated 100th anniversary of our rodeo 2 years ago. We have the oldest continuous rodeo in Canada.
So you're going to be trying to tie this all together?
Oh, it is being all tied together. And add to that the fact that we're sitting right on the edge of Grasslands National Park, the new Grasslands Park. We try that in as well. Last year we had, I believe, about 4,000 inquiries towards Grasslands Park. So it all comes together.
Now, these are some of the artifacts that, that were found last summer, so maybe I'll just get this set up and so we can have a look at them, and then maybe you can tell us a little bit about them. There's lots of different categories that you found things in.
Yeah, these are the normal things, the insignia, buttons. The mower blade on the side here is actually probably not the result of the inhabitation of the post, but maintenance of the post since. Leather heels, shoe hooks. The little tobacco can seal at the bottom is interesting because it looks like it would be an ornament for jewelry or something, and it's actually a tobacco can seal.
Interesting. It must have been exciting. You just never know what you're going to find, right?
It was. We learned a lot of things. Like you can even see where the building was added to and approximately what years it was added to.
Mike, if there's anybody out there that would really enjoy getting out there and getting their hands dirty and helping out this summer and are interested in the project, what should they do? They
should contact our tourism committee. And we have a couple of numbers that are standard. One is 266-2016. And the other one is 266-2115. And we would gladly accommodate them as much as we can. We'll have to remain, we remain to find what's going to happen for sure. We've applied for another grant, and that's in the works. And we haven't got any word on it yet, but we're looking at having something at the end of July.
All right. Well, it's certainly part of Saskatchewan's history, so hopefully you'll get your grant.
Right.
And be able to carry on. Mike, thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
We'll be back after this. Out of time. You have yourself a great weekend, and we'll be Tuesday morning at 11:30. Bye-bye.